Well, whether you believe in them or not, fairy forts are still very much present in Ireland's modern-day landscape.
Yeah, absolutely. Here to tell us the history behind them is author and folklorist Jo Kerrigan. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you too.
Thanks so much for coming in. We're here to discuss your new book, Irish Fairy Forts. I suppose we all grow up hearing about fairy forts, whatever, but can you explain to me what is a fairy fort?
It's one of those wonderful little enclosures you see in the countryside. You might be driving along thinking of something else and you see this little circle on the hillside with hawthorn trees all around it and you think, oh yeah, a fairy fort, because you've grown up with it. Other people from other countries don't know what they are. They're these little earthen enclosures which go back a very, very long way. I mean, we have had them as late as the 18th century, I think, but mostly you will find that they go back into the mists of time. They're back before Christianity, before anything. They're very, very old. And the main thing is that they are believed to be the home of the good people.
So that's the thinking. That's why they were created by the good fairies then?
That is what they say. In fact, the archaeologists will tell you that they were created as enclosures, practically, back in ancient times.
To protect the fairies, is it?
No, to protect ordinary people.
Oh.
People who had flocks out on the hillside. And in Ireland, as you know, one county was always fighting with another county or a province. And people would come and raid your cattle or attack you. So you had these for protection.
Right.
But at some stage, that power got transferred to the good people, the otherworld people. Let me just say, when we're talking about fairies, we are not talking here about the little frilly things that you see dancing around a shopping centre on a Saturday afternoon.
Oh, right.
We're talking about the good people, our ancient earth spirits, the ancient nature spirits of Ireland who guarded the country and its landscape and its animals and its people. You know, we're a very agricultural country and we've always been caring for our land, at least we were up to recently.
So the good spirits, did you say?
Yeah, they're the good spirits, our nature spirits, our ancient gods. Long before a new religion called Christianity came hammering over from Rome and tried to take over, we had our own beliefs in our own nature spirits. Because you had somebody who cared for your children, made sure you had children. You had someone who cared for your animals and your flocks and made sure that you had lots of lambs and calves in spring. You had ones that made you the gods who you went to beg for a good crop or for good rain or for good sunshine. Wow. And they make sense in Ireland, in a place where you're primarily agricultural.
But is there something about bad luck if you... Obviously, with
yes.
fairy forts, if you were to destroy one, there's obviously talk about roads and whatever
Yes.
else, and people, I wouldn't be touching that.
Yep.
Because there is something mythological about them as well, isn't there?
There is. At some stage, and it was believed, I think it's when the Celts came to Ireland, and Tuatha Dé Danann were here before them, and the Celts came and fought them for Ireland, and they were laying waste to the whole country, as the Celts would do. They're very warlike. And the Tuatha Dé Danann, rather than have the country ruined, said, all right, we'll take half the country, we'll go underground, and you can stay and make hames of it up here, but we are going to stay underground and we're going to come forward, because they were magical people with a lot of druidic power, and they would come out whenever they thought that the Celts were misbehaving too much and tearing the land apart, and they would wreak vengeance on them. There are times today when I see what they're doing in Ireland that makes me wonder if they're going to come out again to do it.
And do you believe they're still under the ground?
Of course they're there. They've got the other world is there. That's the entrance. The fairy forts are said to be the entrance to the other world. And there they have their feasting and their magic and their music and their dancing, and they make trips out to see each other. The marvellous thing about them making trips across country is that if you see mist on the hill, it means that they're on their way out somewhere else, because they don't want you to see them moving. And if you can see the top of the hill very clearly, then they're staying in that day.
Wow.
I remember women in the countryside saying, the druids are passing, when they'd see, you know, when you see misty weather sweeping across, like shapes sweeping across the sky.
Would you see them? Have you seen them?
I've had feelings and strange things there. But
what do you mean?
they would not let themselves be seen. They do it with evidence. It's rather like people on television programmes trying to photograph ghosts. Cameras are the wrong thing. Cameras are technology. They're modern material and steel.
But it's feeling.
It's feeling.
Speaking of photography, your husband collaborated with you and took all the photographs.
Some are great.
But something strange happened to you and his camera in particular. What happened?
It did. Several strange things happened to us, and each time now we're saying, that was themselves. Sorry, folks. But in this one, we went out to photograph this fairy fort in North Cork. And we went up to it and walked around it, and Richard decided he might climb up on the bank of it to do something. And then he suddenly found his camera's batteries were dead. And he said, and he's professional. He doesn't let his camera batteries go dead. So he thought, something's wrong here. And he went into his bag, got out the second lot, put them in. They were dead as well. We thought, now, this is a bit strange. So we went back down to the car. He was going to start the engine and recharge them and think what was going on. The car wouldn't start.
Oh, wow.
And this was a fine morning in North Cork. And we're used to trying to fix cars when they go wrong, as they usually do when we're climbing and exploring. And nothing we could do would start it. So we rang the AA and they said it would take at least 3 hours to get to where we were. And in the meantime, at least 3 farmers passed. And as they do, they'd always stop and ask you, can they help? And when we told them the situation, they all said the same thing. Well, what do you expect when you're interfering with themselves or when you're going up to that place?
So this is
The AA man said the same when he came.
Right. Well, that was misfortune. There's another story about the misfortune of the Lundy family in County Monaghan.
In County Monaghan, that was a creepy one. I got that from the ducas.ie site, where the school children of the 1930s were sent away to get a hold of old stories, old legends, old beliefs, anything from their great-grandparents, from anyone who was old, and to write them down, and you can now see them on.
And what happened, Richard Lundy?
And with Richard Lundy, he was the one who thought he knew better and removed a fairy fort. He was told not to. And everything in his family went wrong. People got ill, people died, people were sick, all his animals died. What I found most chilling about that was when the kid who recorded it said, and after some time, the name of Lundy was heard no more. Oof. In
My
that
goodness.
place. And, you know, the whole place didn't want to know. If he did something like that, they didn't want to know.
Do you think the belief for fairy forts is as strong now as it was years ago? Obviously, we grow up learning so much. I'm sure school children do as well. But as you believe that they're still under the ground and still do come up and maybe need to, well, come on, tell us to cop on someday?
I think we should believe in the power of nature and the nature spirit. So I honestly think we should. After all, people believe what they read on Facebook and Twitter implicitly.
That's very true.
Oh, yeah.
They believe what they read on the news, not realising that the news has been chosen in that order and that they will use this item and not that item. They believe something that, well, that presidents in other countries will write on Truth Social. And yet they will not believe that we have powerful spirits looking after our nature and that we really should look after it. It behoves us to take care and to look after it.
Respect the fairies.
It's absolutely amazing. Over 50,000 of these ancient remains living in Ireland
probably
as well.
more. We never will know how many.